The last question is, Plato was the first feminist. Critically examine. So it wants you to critically see this. Don't just see his views that women should be freed from the household and given education and should be allowed to become philosopher queens and guardians and soldiers and whatnot, and say that he's the first feminist and he's a proper feminist and full feminist. Right. So when I teach you the topic, the answer, I'll also teach you Plato's views, contradictory views, where he's not really comfortable saying that women are absolutely as equal as men. There is some hidden motivation of Plato, which I'll tell you. So in the introduction, you will clearly say that your answer is going to be balanced. You're going to be critical here. So you will say that Plato presents complex contradictory views on women, including reluctance to accept them as true equals of men, and conveniently having different views on women in different dialogues, different characters, and even different pages of his book Republic. He is very patriarchal in the book The Laws, and first half of the Republic is saying women are equal. Second half of the book Republic he is saying, oh, women ना, ये औरत ना, slaves और बच्चे जैसे यार irrational होते हैं, that they are dominated by the appetitive part of the soul. Right. उसी किताब रिपब्लिक में पहले बोला था यार इक्वल है, बाद में is comparing women's nature with slaves and children. Right. So that's what you are going to write, that he presents a complex contradictory views on women. He even displays his reluctance to accept women as true equals of men, and conveniently has differences in opinion, in his own opinion, as in different books, different dialogues, different characters, and different pages of the same book, full stop. Right. Then you will write, his views on women have been deeply analyzed by modern thinkers of different schools, including feminism, full stop. Next. प्लेटो का व्यू क्रिटिकली एग्जामिन कैसे कर रहे हैं? अलग अलग थिंकर्स का व्यूज यूज करेंगे. हम इंप्रेस नहीं हो सकते, हाँ भाई इन्होंने ऐसे बोल दिया था, बढ़िया बोला. राइट. नाउ फर्स्ट आर्ग्यूमेंट इज प्लेटो वाज अ फेमिनिस्ट. तो हियर कॉमन सेंसिकल है. हाउ? In his book Republic, he argued that women could become guardians, including philosopher queens and warriors, and that women were capable of reason and had equal capacities and virtues as men, full stop. And he said this, सबसे important point ये है. Next point रखो second segment में, the context. कार्ल मार्क्स एक थिंकर, सी कार्ल मार्क्स को इधर ऐसे इस्तेमाल कर रहा है, यू आर गोइंग टू यूज कार्ल मार्क्स हियर. कार्ल मार्क्स सेड इन हिज 1844 बुक द इकोनॉमिक एंड फिलोसॉफिकल मैन्यूस्क्रिप्ट्स, इन दिस बुक ही सेड, अगर कोई भी काल, जमाना, इरा, इपोक ऑफ ह्यूमन हिस्ट्री को इफ यू हैव टू एनालाइज इट फर्स्ट by studying the role and status of women in society. That clearly will reveal to you उस society का हालत and quality. Right. So here you don't have to write this point अगर आंसर लिखना है, ये जरूरी नहीं. I'm just giving you the example, giving you a way of seeing history or a way of seeing someone's thought. So Plato wrote this point when his background was the Athenian patriarchy, where women were confined in kitchens and bedrooms, were treated like slaves, like property of men, whose role was only to make babies as baby factories. So if you study Plato's views in keeping that context, mahol, atmosphere, background, situation in mind, clearly it feels that Plato's views were very radical, based on equality, and were feministic. Full stop. Adding to this point that they could become guardians, he also advocated complete education, even military training to women, where they would train shoulder to shoulder with men like Sparta. Sparta, this was the case, right? And he even goes to the extent of freeing women from the responsibility or burden. For some it's a responsibility, for someone it's a burden. Freeing women from the responsibility and burden of motherhood. Full stop. This is the first argument ki haan bhaiya ji, he was a feminist. Next comes no. This is the critical examination part. इस पार्ट में कहते हैं कि यार ये भी था पेट्रियार्कल, या तो यार रिलक्टेंट था. हाँ ठीक है, वुमेन को फ्री करो, बट यार दे आर नॉट एज गुड एज मेन, काइंड ऑफ. ही वाज रिलक्टेंट. फुल्ली कमिटेड नहीं था उस व्यू पॉइंट के लिए दैट वुमेन वर इक्वल. I'll tell you why. The hidden motivations. First of all, that he was patriarchal. Declare करते हैं. Feminist. Simone de Beauvoir. She was French name है ये. Simone de Beauvoir. Just memorize the spelling. ये important है. Feminism topic में ideologies में बहुत important है. तो she says in her book The Second Sex. Her किताब का नाम है The Second Sex. Right. Second sex मतलब क्या? What is the hidden meaning of the title of the book? That women have been treated by society and by history and throughout history as the second sex in comparison to men. That men are the superior sex, women are the male and female. Male के बाद female है. Female means lesser males, imperfect males. So this is the title of her book. She doesn't believe in it. She is just saying that my sex has been defined like that. Same thing Plato also says. She points out. She says that Plato, Simone de Beauvoir in her book points out the patriarchal view of Plato expressed in his book The Laws, where he viewed women being essentially inferior to men and should be more concerned about raising children and running the household rather than participating in the public life. और इसी The Laws किताब में उसने क्या बोला? Democracy plus rule of law system होगा. Right? Women will get education, but women का primary role is motherhood. Okay? She says the genders have essential roles defined for them. Men go out, provide for the family, participate in politics. Women run the house and raise the children. Then Susan Moller-Okin. Susan Moller-Okin says that Plato, she's also a feminist, right? A Western liberal feminist. So she says that Plato was a reluctant feminist. Why? Because she says Plato ने क्या बोला? Guardians will not have families. If guardians do not have families, how will guardians produce children? He wanted to make the best children, right? If guardians don't have children, who will produce children? Producers. अगर producers ही families बढ़ाते रहेंगे, आने वाले बच्चे भी producer class ही होंगे. Appetitive. The quality of the souls will be limited to appetitive. The producer class will self-perpetuate itself. Will make babies and their population will move forward. What about the people with more reason and spirit, the guardian classes? So his communism of family is limited to the guardian classes. So it is the guardian class, men and women of the guardian class, the best males and the best females come together to make best babies so that more guardians are born in the future. If families are abolished, there is no motherhood. If motherhood is abolished, what will the women do? So in a way usko majburi hua. It was a majburi for him to say that women will also be soldiers, women will also be queens. Right. So because he was forced to accept. Right. So this point is a brilliant point of Susan Moller-Okin. To show that he was a reluctant feminist because he abolished family. He had to, जो बचा हुआ औरत लोग करेंगे क्या अगर फैमिली में नहीं रहेंगे तो So they'll also be guardians. But his real view clearly hai what he has expressed in the laws. Right. And radical feminists, what do they say? They say that yaar republic mein hi, forget the laws. In the republic, the second half of book 7, book 8, book 9 of the republic, the second half of the republics, आखिरी chapters में, Plato said that women and children and slaves are similar in the sense that they're all dominated by the irrational, appetitive and the weak part of the soul. He's saying महिला लोग ज़्यादा irrational है, मतलब ज़्यादा emotional है, weak है. They don't have reason and spirit as much as men do. So was Plato really a feminist? He wasn't. He was a reluctant feminist. Reluctance भी नहीं था. Right. He had contradictory views. Right. Anyway, but conclusion में हल्का सा positive लिखेंगे that Plato's views were very radical and progressive in the Athens he lived in, which was extremely patriarchal. Full stop. Next you will write, notwithstanding the traditional outlook. Notwithstanding मतलब क्या? What is the meaning of notwithstanding? It means हाँ हल्का सा traditional outlook था, but still his emphasis that women should have a role in politics, public life and get military training and should be provided with comprehensive education, they are all still relevant to this very day to break the glass ceiling. What does it mean? Top positions, whether it's in business, in politics, in military, all dominated by men. Women leaders, women prime ministers, women presidents, women chief ministers, they are exceptions, not examples. Why? Because there is this belief that women have a glass ceiling, कि एक सीलिंग है, उस सीलिंग की क्रॉस करके ब्रेक करके ऊपर तक जा नहीं सकते, एक लेवल तक ही जाएंगे हमेशा. So to break that glass ceiling, if Plato believed that women could reach the top, philosopher queens, could perform in combat roles in the army, if he could believe that, उस जमाने में गन भी नहीं था दूर से गोली मारने. अभी women also have the technological advantage of weaponry. पहले सबको तलवार में मारना था. So obviously in that battle men were slightly stronger because of again biology. But today biology can be negated with technology. Right? निशान रख के बंदूक से मारने, men and women both can do. Jet, aircraft चला सकते, both can do. Right? So this is what you will write. In the Plato's emphasis on women having active roles in politics, public life and in combat roles with the provision of comprehensive education is relevant to this very day for the women of the world to break the glass ceiling. Full stop. End. Right, boys and girls? We have finished the biggest topic in the syllabus, the biggest thinker of Western political thought, the first thinker, the father of Western political philosophy, Plato. Right. Next thinker, boys and girls, is Aristotle. Right. Now,